And then there are some sections, lots of creeks on the property, really good habitat edges with the hardwoods to pines. Like I was driving around the whole time, I had Onyx on, I had my tracker on. So we're driving around for 3 hours. And I'm like, keep looking at spots, looking at property, looking at sections that we were going to. And the more and more I saw, the more and more I started drooling. Just how it lays out. And it's very similar to a lot of other stuff that we hunt. It's just the thing about on a hunting club, a lot of times your hunting club could have more pressure than public land does. But the thing about a hunting club is it's pretty easy in most circumstances, unless you have a lot of guys that really like to get in the woods and go find individual spots that are on food plots. It's very easy to determine where people are going to hunt and where the pressure's at to find big sections that there's no pressure.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Thursday episode, Thursday Q&A. We're just wrapping up all kinds of stuff, man. We just got back from another podcast recording trip, just got back from the Mobile Hunters Expo. Got a lot going on. Jacob, what's up?
I'm doing well. Just got to get me a swig of water right here. You kind of started unexpectedly.
Yeah, I kind of forced you into it there. Jacob joined the Privileged Land Hunter Club.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna make fun of him for that. All right. Before we get into all that, though, let's talk about the hat that you're wearing right now.
Oh, the Southern Outdoorsman Bottomlands hat, patch hat. Love this hat. Actually launched this at the Mobile Hunters Expo, Dalton, Georgia.
Yep.
Which, by the way, was fantastic. Thank you for everybody that came by and come hung out with us. Bought apparel, shirts, hats, decals, grunt calls, which I think we'll talk about one little segment in this podcast. Because y'all sold out, or we sold out all our grunt calls that we had at the moment. We got another
ran
batch.
out of stickers and grunt calls and Blaze Orange hats.
And bags.
And bags.
That we were giving everybody for all their apparel. So it was crazy. But anyways, the Bottomland hat launched at the Mobile Hunters Expo, and it's coming out today.
Yeah, it's out.
When this episode drops, it is out.
It is available.
So you can check that out at the southernoutdoorsman.com. Again, great hat.
Actually, it's been out all week, but our Patreon members and newsletter subscribers, they got a little discount on it and early access. Ooh. So I just thought I'd throw that out there for everybody.
Okay. It's nice. You subscribe to the newsletter, which you can do on the website as well. But yeah, super great hat. Got some great feedback from it as well. But we're going to talk about the Mobile Hunter Expo. Again, I just joined the hunting club as well, which I'm very excited about. I already have one listener in the club. He messaged me within about an hour of me joining. I'm like, man, word travels fast, dude. But yeah, we'll talk about that and then get a bunch of Q&A. So we'll hit the Q&As first.
All right, yeah. First up on the Q&As, we're going to be talking about scrapes. This is from Carter Moody, and he says the state is North Carolina and Virginia.
Hey guys, how's it going? So a couple questions for you, mainly in regards to scrapes. I have been deer hunting pretty much all my life and have had success with some different bucks over the years, but never in regards to hunting scrapes. I've put cameras on scrapes. I have put in mock scrapes. Used a bunch of different methods for putting mock scrapes. Been like super careful with human scent, not careful with human scent. Tried different brands of scent and scrape starter. Have used natural licking branches, have put in licking ropes, just not having success. Occasionally I'll have a few small bucks come in, mainly like spikes or fork horns, but never any interest from larger bucks. And sometimes I'll even have larger bucks in the background of my camera, maybe 50 yards away, and just they could care less about the scrape. And so first question would be, how do I find those good community scrapes? I try to keep my eye out. I find the small scrapes that bucks make all the time, and I know those aren't really worth paying attention to. But those big community scrapes that get used year round, I really struggle with finding those. And second, for putting in those mock scrapes, any help will be appreciated, because I've tried just about everything I know how, and I'm just not having success with it. So any feedback on that would be much appreciated.
All right, so talking scrapes with Carter. There's a couple different things there. Finding community scrapes, establishing mock scrapes. You got any initial thoughts?
If it sounds like he may be on a smaller piece of property for some reason. I say smaller piece probably. It doesn't sound like a big chunk of public or a really big lease, over something 600, 700, 800 acres or more. Not all properties are going to have a community scrape. There are some places on public land where we'll walk a ton and never find a community scrape. Yep. So even though you hear us talking about and you hear guests talking about a whole bunch, they're not found everywhere. Mm-hmm. You have to really have the right circumstance, I feel like, to find a community scrape. And I thought someone who really had a really good point on scrapes and finding the right scrape was the episode we just recently did 2 weeks ago, I think, with Steve Shirk from PA, where his best scrapes that he finds for not just buck inventory and buck usage, but also daylighting bucks is those big scrapes right next to good cover, good bedding cover. So if your property doesn't set up really great for that, where there's maybe not a really good bedding area from cover standpoint, you may not find one of those scrapes. And we find some of those scrapes ever so often, but it's not like every single time you go out you find something like that.
No, they're pretty hard to find.
And that's the big thing, is like there are some places community scrapes are almost impossible, it seems like, to find. And other places it's like you can walk over every couple of ridges and you can find what you would presume as a community scrape based on the size, licking branches, and the location to where it's at. And you put a camera on it and you have bucks and does using it, but a lot of other bigger deer. So, I mean, that's the one thing. So you may not, if you have 150 or 200 acres that you're working, you may not find a scrape like that on that place. And a lot of it, I think, is based off cover and food resources, that those deer aren't staying in there, throughout the whole year.
Yeah, I was going to actually say, I was going to go exactly where you just went. On Saturday, Mike and I went and scouted, and we walked a little bit over 8 miles. And we found, well, I already knew it was there, so we didn't find it. But we were looking for more community scrapes. I had a camera that had been soaking on one community scrape since February, and went and checked that camera. But point being, in 8 miles, we walked past maybe one. I don't even know if it's really one or not. Put a new camera on that one, so we'll see as that soaks throughout the year. But, I mean, that goes to show, we covered 8 miles. And we didn't loop back through the same area. We did a big loop through this area and didn't cover the same ground twice. So, that's 8 miles of ground that we covered, and we found one new one, and then there's one that we already knew was there. That camera that was up there, dude, we'll talk about it more later, but I was hoping that I'd have pictures, videos on it from like February. I put it out on February 10th. I was hoping it would last through summer to get to like velvet, where I was getting velvet deer on it. It didn't even make it 40 days. There were so many deer on that camera. Yeah, so many deer on that camera.
It filled up the SD card or die?
It filled up the SD card.
How big was the SD card?
It was a 32 gig.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about it. On the mock scrape question, mock scrapes is kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. At least for me, when I put out mock scrapes, if I put out 5, if 2 of them take, that's pretty good. I don't have like a ton of luck with them. And it's usually, I think, because of just where I'm putting them. I'm putting them where paths of travel intersect, and that's also typically where you find those community scrapes. So, like, going back to where we were scouting on Saturday, we went and we found this. It's kind of like a little shelf coming off a ridge, and it's got a big saddle above it. And I was telling Mike when we walked up onto it, as soon as we got onto it, I'm like, ooh, this feels scrapey. I feel like there should be a scrape up here. And we start walking around doing loops all over it. Can't find a scrape. And then eventually there's a trail running the side of the ridge, like it's running a topo line basically. And I'm like, we just need to walk this trail and find where, hopefully there's something coming off that saddle that goes down into it, and where they intersect there'll probably be a scrape right there. And that's where we ended up finding the scrape. It's not like a classic, community scrape where there's like a big, like 5 licking branches all in one spot. There's just one big licking branch. It kind of comes and hangs off and then goes up. And they've stripped all the crap off of it, like in a 2-foot section where they're working like the whole section of this limb, not the end of it.
There was deer crap on the limb?
No, like they stripped all the twigs of crap off the limb. Okay.
Yeah. Just check.
That would be kind of impressive. But anyways, because the limb like dips down and then goes back up, so they're not actually working the tip of it, they're working the midsection of the limb. But the scrape on the ground is pretty big. It's about the size of a car hood. So we put a camera on that. We'll see. But that's like intersecting paths of travel. There's 2 big trails that meet right there on a terrain feature. That's usually where I find a community scrape. In hill country. Flatland, I don't know what to tell you. I haven't really found many in flatland just because I don't hunt flatland that much myself. With the mock scrapes, I always go back to, this has been my experience, but also what people have been talking about. If you're not having success on a mock scrape, it's probably just in the wrong spot. Like you're just not in the right area. Kind of like you said earlier, you should be on the edge of bedding, ideally on some kind of edge or terrain feature that deer are going to congregate around or they're going to travel through a good bit. And that's where you're going to have the most success. Like I think that's what Greg Skufka was talking about when we did our whole mock scrape episode with him. And even Troy Pottinger way back when, episode 175 that we did with him, which we're going to bring that one back up as a throwback here in a couple weeks for everyone to listen to on the YouTube side as well. But I think that's what the problem is. I think that if you're just not having luck with it, it's probably because it's in the wrong spot. But also, the other thing too is to have a realistic idea of how much the deer are going to be using it. And all the time I've been paying attention to scrapes, the best scrapes that I've ever found in all the properties and all the years I've been doing it, which I've been pretty heavy on scrapes now for a while. If you get a buck there like a couple times a week, that's like as good as it gets in most places. You're talking about if there's mature bucks, like sometimes you're seeing a mature buck and he's like 50 yards behind the scrape. I mean, that's how it is a lot of times. A lot of times the scrapes I'm mentioning where I'm having multiple bucks a week, maybe every, I don't know, 4 out of 10 or so are actually visiting the scrape, and then the other ones are just walking past it or walking behind it, and I'm happening to catch them on camera. And then also just realizing that your camera's probably not catching every deer that's actually walking in front of it as well.
Really, my goal is trying to find places you don't have to use a mock scrape because you find the scrape.
Yeah.
Because, like, deer are going to scrape in areas that they're already using and they're congregating, they're spending time there for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And if you have to make a mock scrape, it has to be an area that deer are already using quite a bit, but it makes sense for a scrape to be there.
Yes.
Again, different edge cover all coming together right there, not just a wide open oak flat. That's something, again, that Steve Shirk talked about from hunting scrapes and even putting cameras on scrapes. You put scrapes on those big oak flats that's wide open and you can get deer on them, but it's in a certain window of time and it's a lot of times at night.
Yeah.
Versus leaning yourself towards edge habitat, like sub-canopy edge habitat, which we talked about in our seminar at the Mobile Hunter Expo, which is vegetation that's under the main tree canopy that creates another interior edge that deer will use. Kind of going back to a conversation we had with, oh my gosh, Greg, not Skufka, Greg Staggs, talking about interior edges on an episode from about 4 years ago. But that is huge. And the thing is, if you're not putting a mock scrape in a spot like that where there's not already a scrape, you're probably going to have less opportunity that deer are going to use it and actually find it as well. Because some of the best mock scrapes we mess around with, we don't even put deer scent in them. It's like it's a visual thing. We talked, the episode hasn't come out yet. Another episode with Steve Shirk that'll come out a little bit later, maybe a month or so, where we talk about making mock scrapes. And it's very visual based. It's not so much the scent, it's also visual based. Like it's an area that the deer will see it from somewhat of a distance if they're working through that habitat edge, and that's really important as well. So there's a lot of different things with mock scrapes, but you don't have to have a bunch of scents in order for them to get them to use it. It's location, has the right appearance, the right looking branch. It's also on the right species of tree or shrub that deer's already scraping underneath. In your area of the country, North Carolina, Virginia, you probably will notice certain species of trees and vegetation and shrubs that deer like to scrape under. If you're making a mock scrape, use one of those. Don't use a different tree species you've never seen it scrape underneath. Like, I would never make a mock scrape underneath a pine tree. They definitely make scrapes underneath pine trees, but it's kind of weird when you find them.
Yeah. It's
like, I'm going to try to find something else that the deer are using, especially like a beech tree. Like, if there's not a scrape on a big beech tree, it's in the right spot, maybe I'll kick it out, make it look like a mock scrape.
Yeah.
And just that visualness of the disturbed ground, even in the summertime when they're not pawing the ground, that visual and the smell of fresh dirt will bring deer to them. Like our buddy Michael Pike used to talk about that all the time when he was on the podcast a bunch. just that fresh dirt smell seems to bring the deer in just to investigate it, and then they'll start using the licking branch.
Yeah, my most recent mock scrape that I put it out like maybe a month ago on a little travel path. Again, it's like a ditch. It's on my hunting club. There's a ditch that runs up and goes right through a saddle. It's a man-made ditch. It's like 6 feet deep. And where it crests up through the saddle, there's a little old road bed that crosses it. So it's kind of like a little land bridge right there. And there's a trail crossing right over that land bridge, and then there's a trail running that ditch, and they intersect. And there's deer tracks all over it. There's buck sign in there, but there wasn't a scrape. There was actually no limbs hanging down. Actually, I take it back. There was a scrape. It was like the most sad little scrape you've ever seen. There was like a little twig growing out of a sweet gum sapling that they were scraping underneath. I mean, like literally a twig like that big growing out. They just completely ripped it off. And so I ended up putting the camera up, and I snipped that limb completely off. So that's not an option anymore. And then I got a different tree. I think it's a hickory or a sourwood, but I bent that tree over kind of like Bobby Worthington was showing us on that scouting video we did with him. I bent that tree over, tied it off, so now they got a nice little looking branch hanging down right there. Snapped some limbs so they're hanging 90 degrees so it looks good. And there has been almost nothing on that camera. Scraped out the ground a bunch beneath it. There's been 2 young bucks, kind of like what you're mentioning in the video here. There's been 2 little bucks that have come through there a couple times, and each time they've come through there, they've crossed that land bridge, and they've walked up, and they've just poked that licking branch with their nose. They haven't bit it. They haven't rubbed their face on it. They literally just kind of tap it with their nose and then keep going. I take that as a good sign. I think that the mature bucks just aren't really in there yet. I think it's something they're going to relate to probably later in the season. It sets up where it's on the downhill side of this food plot, and it's kind of right between the cover and the food. So there's a food plot, and then you go through the woods a little ways, and there's a nice pine thicket, and this is kind of right in between those on a terrain feature. So it's in a spot that makes sense, but that food plot, we didn't plant anything in the summer, so I just don't think they're really going to it yet. I think it's just a bunch of young bucks kind of wandering around doing their thing. And they've been alone. It hadn't been a bachelor group. So I'm still holding out hope for that, but just because I'm only getting a couple little young bucks on it every once in a while, I still think that it's in a good spot, so I'm going to leave it there, and we'll see. We'll keep y'all updated how it works out.
Yeah.
Actually, the latest thing I got on that camera is a guy, and he walked in there and he found my scrape, and he put his own camera on it. That's the thing about making mock scrapes. When you make this big, impressive mock scrape, some guy walks in there, he's like, dang, look at this. I got this guy on camera putting a camera on the same scrape my camera's on, and he never saw my camera. I was like, dude, you're going to be disappointed. There's like a 4-point and a spike working that scrape right now. But anyways, especially this time of year, late summer, getting into mid to late August here, you're just not going to have a ton of activity on any scrape for that matter. But as the velvet comes off, you start getting into season, I think it'll pick up. Mm-hmm. So, all right. You good on that one?
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Daniel Whiting? I hope I got your last name right. From North Carolina, the subject is travel routes through drainages.
Hey guys, my name's Daniel. I'm in North Carolina, and I have a quick question. So this area that I'm scouting, I've hunted it a few times, not this exact spot, but this general game land. This area is around a lake, so this is kind of a lake bed, and there's creek systems and up all off it. There's areas like this all over it, creek bottoms and stuff. But up that way, out of the creek bed, it's kind of open hardwoods. There's a access trail that's foot traffic only, and then on the other side of that's private, that has kind of a pine thicket where they bed, and I have a rub line that leads from that pine thicket down into this area, into this bottom, and then it kind of disappears at this creek. So my question is, and on top of that there's a lot of trails, my question is, if in areas underwater, because this was flooded, it was underwater for over a week, so if an area is flooded and it's a regular deer travel corridor, how long after flooding comes down does it take for deer to resume their regular travel patterns in a flooded area? I appreciate all the content and look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
All right, so how long after flooding will they resume moving through an area? I think they might never stop. I mean, unless it's some violent flooding, but how many times have you seen trail camera pictures of deer where someone will put a trail camera up and it floods and they got pictures of like wood ducks swimming by, and then here comes a deer swimming through the water in the same spot.
I saw one in Arkansas. Now this was on a feeder. I don't know what river they were on, but it was under it was a trough feeder, and where it was holding the feed was out of the water. But I mean, dude, it was deep. I'm sure that trough feeder is probably 3 feet off the ground, where deer really had to like stretch their head over. And there were deer still coming to it, walking through like over chest deep water. Like it was up on the shoulder of the deer, and they were feeding out of it. Of course, that's a different circumstance, but yeah, I don't think it really would affect them as long as there's a reason for them to cross through there. Like they're going from one place to another place, so maybe there's good browse on one side of the creek and then good bedding on the other side of the creek.
Yeah.
As long as that stays consistent, it doesn't completely wash out all the browse. They're probably going to keep using it. Now, if it does do that, it floods out a whole bottom where there's a bunch of really lush green browse for them. It washes that completely out. Maybe they won't come back through there for a little while until oaks start dropping. It looks like there's some oak trees in that spot. So I really don't know. And also, he's talking about their season. North Carolina opens early. It's like first Saturday of September or something like that. Normally around like the 6th, 7th, 8th. Normally, I think is when they typically open. If not until the mid-teens of the month. But I mean, dude, I would not focus so much on the creek crossing as more so as like where are they coming from and where was that sign kind of starting to pinch down before they get to that creek. Because the thing about that, when it washes out a lot of sign, but then the thing is there's a lot of bare dirt typically when you have a washout flooding event like that, and you can see tracks really well.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed that when I've hunted Arkansas after they've had flooding, and you go out there and it's like, dude, it's so easy to find tracks, but it's also so easy to think there's 1,000 deer coming through here because there's a group of does that walk through there twice a day, and it's all completely tracked out. You think you have this honey hole, and maybe it's just 3 does walking through.
Right.
Now, if you want to shoot some does, great. If you're trying to shoot a buck early, maybe not the right spot for it. But I think that's so situational dependent. I mean, I don't think there's a great way to say how long it's going to take them to come back or not. I would just say that's a point of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle. Now you're trying to find the other pieces. Like, again, have an idea with the rub line kind of where deer are coming from and what's on the other side of the creek that they may be going to. Finding that, and that'll give you a better idea of the pinch point in between that maybe you want to set up on, or focus a little bit more on the feeding, or focus a little bit more on the bedding area in that travel corridor. Also, I noticed the woods look pretty open.
Yeah, that's actually was going to be one of the things I was going to say. Those woods look really open. On the flooding question, I agree with what you said. Like, I don't think that if they want to get through there bad enough, they're going to do it whether there's water there or not. I mean, they'll swim across a whole lake. They can swim really well. They float with their hair. Their hair is hollow. It's like a life jacket for them. And as far as when the floodwaters recede, I mean, as soon as that water's gone, I think they'd go back to using it, especially if it's an area that they kind of need to go to for whatever reason. Just based off your video and what I'm seeing, again, those woods look pretty open. So, I don't know. I don't know if they're really going to have to be coming through there or anything, but I wouldn't worry too much about the floodwaters. Unless they're like super significant and they're causing serious problems, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But I agree with you. I would maybe cheat back more towards that pine thicket.
Yeah, the edge. I'd look at the edge more, and again, kind of figure out where they're coming from, and is it a pine? Is it a pine thicket that they're actually bedding in? It's got, is it more shade? Is it more browse and shade? Is there food in the pine thicket as well? Versus the other side of the creek, what's over there? That whole thing, and then try to put those pieces together to figure out where's your best place for an ambush spot for hunting from a stand or a saddle up in the tree. And look at that instead of so much right on the actual creek itself and whether or not they're going to walk back through there. Because they didn't leave. They're there. They just might not be using that spot because it washed everything out and killed a lot of the vegetation. But you still have probably 40, 50 days before you have a frost up there, depending on where he's at. And there may be new regrowth sprouting down there in that bottom that flooded out, which could be your own little tiny food plot with tons of fresh browse that they can eat on, intermixed with oak starting to drop in the next month.
Yeah, agreed. All right, next up we got Liam Clark from Florida. Liam has written in several questions. We appreciate you. He asked, does one out-of-season picture mean anything to y'all?
Hey y'all, how's it going? I was just down at the property and I was driving around checking some stuff. So I went ahead and grabbed some of my camera cards for the cameras that I drive by that I was going to disturb anyways. And when I was checking them, I had my target buck. He showed up like 2 days ago. He's in velvet. He showed up like 1050. So I was wondering, does that mean anything at all to y'all? I know you were just talking about like they'll get spurts of testosterone and stuff, and they'll go check on like does. So is that, y'all think something like that, or is that showing that it's kind of more of his home range that he'll pop in every once in a while? I've had that camera there for about 2 weeks. I've got it once about 2 days ago. Thank y'all for your response to my last question. I think that'll be really helpful. Thank you.
All right, yeah, Liam. I think that probably relates back to what we were talking with Steve Shirk about a couple weeks ago, where he was saying that you'll get these bucks that come through their rut range in late summer. Kind of check it out. I think that could be what that is. I mean, if you got one picture, I mean, it's good that you got that one picture of the buck. I think more than anything, there's maybe two pieces of information you can take off of that. One, he's alive, kind of like you're saying. You've got at least one prospect of a buck that's coming through the property, and two, it could be the thing that Steve Shirk was talking about, where, you know, if he showed up there right now, maybe that same buck is going to be coming through during the rut. So, I mean, that'd just be something to be watching out for, I guess. As far as like planning anything hardcore off of it, I don't really think there's much to do other than, okay, sweet, got a good buck on camera here. You know, take it from there.
Also, I would love to know, Liam, because I know you're on private, and we talked about you. I think you're down in Florida, if I remember.
Yep.
Is it on a corn pile? Is it on a scrape? Is it on a trail? Like, what exactly is your camera on? And I don't know if I don't know if you specify that in what you wrote in. I think that kind of plays a factor as well, because you're talking about you came through like 1050, and I don't know if that was at PM at night or if that was during the day. I'm probably guessing it at night.
That's the buck.
Oh, it's at night. Okay, yeah. So
That's a pretty good buck.
it's a great deer, and but you know, kind of walking through an area like that, it's a very, very small piece of the puzzle. As in, like, the piece of puzzle that you just solved is yes, he is alive. Like Andrew, you just mentioned that. The next thing is, are you going to try to use cameras to try to pattern him? Because I remember you saying, like, this property is not a very big property. We looked at on aerial imagery. It's one of those things that you could start kind of trying to backtrack. And the problem is you get them at pretty late at night. You know, probably 2 hours, 3 hours after sunset. You could move some cameras around and try to see if you can find him. My biggest thing, I wouldn't worry all that much until you start getting a little bit, maybe another 2 weeks, and try to see if he starts daylighting or getting on camera on any of your other cameras. Because I think you said you had quite a few cameras out there. You may be surprised you pick them up in a couple other spots on that property. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I would really go off that other than, you know, he's alive. Maybe you can start trying to pick him up on some other cameras and then start building some kind of a basic pattern of direction of travel and how he's using your property. Because there's a chance he might not be living on your property. There's a chance he could be on your neighbors, something else like that. That's kind of the issue you run into when you don't have huge pieces of land, whether it's on public land or big private land tracts or so on. When I say big, you know, 4, 5, 6, 800 acres. Was that 800,000?
That's a heck of a hunting club right there, boy.
Yeah, that'd be about 2 counties. But anyway, I think you can do a lot with it later on. But this just tells you that he's alive. Keep the pieces of the puzzle kind of going. Try to see if you pick him up on other cameras and kind of go from there. But I think once that food source changes here in the next month to 2 months, that's when I'd get really interested in trying to figure out where you're finding that deer and if you can get any more of a pattern on them.
Yeah, agreed. Keep us posted, Liam. Man, I hope you kill that buck. That's a good deer. All right, we just wrapped up one of our favorite shows of the entire year, and that is the Mobile Hunters Expo Southern Show in Dalton, Georgia. Man, we had a good time. A ton of you guys came by the booth. Y'all bought a bunch of Freezer Queen shirts, a bunch of our hats and everything. And we got to map scout with a bunch of you guys, talk deer hunting. So it was a great time. So greatly appreciate everyone who came by to see us at that show. Now, if you missed the best whitetail show of the entire year, I've got good news for you. There's one more opportunity. The Midwest Mobile Hunters Expo is happening in Wilmington, Ohio, Friday, August 22nd through the 24th. You know, this year at the show, there was a ton of new saddles, platforms, sticks, climbing methods, stands, and just all manner of mobile hunting gear. And the Mobile Hunters Expo is the only place you can go see all that. You know, we said it before, we'll say it again. We can make gear recommendations for you guys. We have gear that we like, but mobile hunting gear is a lot like a pair of boots. What I like might not be what you like. So if you have the chance to go try it in person, you should really go do that before you buy it. Your next chance to do that, and the last chance of this year, is in Wilmington, Ohio at the Midwestern Mobile Hunters Expo. Pretty much every company in the mobile hunting space is gonna be there. So this is your chance. Go try it out. Deer season's coming quick. Go test out that new gear before you spend a bunch of money on it. So like I said, Midwestern Mobile Hunters Expo happening August 22nd through 24th, Wilmington, Ohio. If you missed the first one, don't miss the second one. You can learn more at themobilehuntersexpo.com.
Hey guys, it's Jake. We got a quick tip for you in this podcast. One thing I've been working on over the last year is trying to figure out how to be less bulky really while saddle hunting and mobile whitetail hunting. And the biggest issue I always had was I really liked really large packs, and the problem was outside of certain points of the season, like when it got really cold, I never used the full capacity of some of those really big backpacks. One thing I started doing is using a smaller pack that has a lot more expandable capacity, so you can still pack a lot of stuff if you need to, but it's also very streamlined. It's super easy to go in and out of the woods with, especially during early season or just when you're not packing a lot of cold weather gear. This is the Latitude Ranger 22. I used this all last season, and I could pack a surprising amount of gear in that pack, specifically a bunch of cold weather gear, both bibs, jackets, extra layers, along with a platform, or when I was hybrid hunting with a small little lock-on, having a small lock-on on here as well, along with my sticks. And this backpack works really well with that. So if you're in the market for a new backpack and you're trying to streamline what you're doing, I'd really highly recommend looking at the Ranger 22 from Latitude Outdoors. And you can check out the Ranger 22 at latitudeoutdoors.com.
One thing we talk about with almost every guest on this show is map scouting. My favorite map scouting tool is LiDAR. If you're unfamiliar, LiDAR is basically like a 3D scan of the Earth's surface. I like to say it kind of takes away all the surprises. LiDAR is now available on onX Hunt on their topography map. If you go to your app right now, click on the topography map, you can flip on that LiDAR feature and boom, it's gonna come on and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. The LiDAR is gonna allow you to see things that are normally hidden from view. This might be ditches, bends and creeks, rocks, old road beds. I personally love old road beds because deer like to walk them. They're great places to find scrapes. They're great camera locations. And you know, before, an old road bed or an old logging road might be something that you kind of happen upon while you're out scouting or hunting. Well, now with the LiDAR, before I go into an area, I can turn on that LiDAR and I can see exactly where those road beds are. Even old logging roads from the 1930s, you can still see them on there. So that allows me to go straight to those spots and check them out. It's just an incredibly helpful tool, and it's available now on onX Hunt. And hey, if you want to get 20% off your onX Elite membership, you can use the promo code SOUTHERN. Like I said, it's going to save you 20%. Go check out that LiDAR feature. You'll be glad you did. Know where you stand with onX Hunt. Jacob has joined the Privileged Land Hunter Club, whatever you want to call it, after years of making fun of me, just ostracizing me. So what's the story?
First off, sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. So this is a club I've known about for years, over a decade. I've known of this club. Mm-hmm. Knew people in this club. Problem is I didn't know how to get in contact with nobody there, because everybody I was at that was in the club in the past, either I never asked them for, contact information for the president.
Well, also, like, the club we've both talked about joining this club in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And in the past, I think what kept us away from it was just the member count. There was a ton of members in that club.
Yeah, at one time. Yeah. At one time.
Since then, they've made some changes.
Made a lot of changes. But also, I've been so wishy-washy the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, I could do it, but I don't know if I want to spend the money instead of traveling other states and all that kind of stuff. And finally, after you join your club, I'm still not interested at all in joining y'all's club. I want y'all to test the waters. I'm like, I'm going to go find something a little bit different. And ended up running into a listener at the World Deer Expo who just joined this club. And that's where I was able to get the contact info for the president. And I'm like, I'm going to ask him. Because I know some guys have been in the club that's either seen some really big deer or have had opportunities and or killed some nice deer. And I know what the area kind of produces. So ended up making a call and everything. The problem was we were traveling when I made the call. We were doing this big road trip interviewing guys for 8 days straight from Tennessee to Pennsylvania. And then we went right to the Mobile Hunter Expo. So I was like, hey, I can't get you money and I can't see the property till we get back. And we were able to kind of link up this past week and go tour the property. And I'm telling you, dude, It was everything I hoped for and more. Everything I hoped for and more.
All right, what were you hoping for though? Because this might be helpful for someone who's looking for a property.
A couple things he told me that made me very hopeful. Number one, they've got about 34 members, so over 4,000 acres total. A couple different sections of the property there. It's not all one big contiguous piece, but each track's very sizable. One thing I was hoping for, I say hoping for, I really want to know how the guys hunted. Number one, and this kind of goes into, like, we've talked about this before, like, what questions to ask when you're joining a hunting club. It's very late to join a hunting club. He just had one spot left. I called him. I was like, hey, dude, like, you got it. I want it, but I'd like to see the property, meet you, kind of see everything is ran. Ended up spending 3 hours with him and still didn't get to see the whole property. We were riding around for 3 hours. But one of the questions I wanted to know was, what is the average guy's hunting style in the club? And pretty much what he told me was it's a lot of guys like hunting food plots, shooting houses, ladder stand stuff on food plots. And I'm like, great. That's kind of what I was looking for. Because when you get in a club and there's a lot of guys, they have a lot of nice food plots. That's where people have success. That's where people want to go. That's great because it opens up a lot of opportunity. If you like hunting woods, which I like hunting in the woods too, it makes it where you have a lot of room to get around and get into other
Stretch
spots.
your legs a little bit.
Yeah, stretch your legs. Well, like just get in other areas that are not nearly as pressured as the food plots.
Right.
That was huge. Also, another question I asked, which again, I bow hunt, but I bow hunt to get the gun season. But I had to ask, I'm like, of all the guys in the club, how many do you think are like bow hunt a good bit versus just gun hunters? He's like, there may be 4 or 5 guys in the whole place that bow hunts.
How many acres?
Over 4,000.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, good to know too. And then also another thing is the habitat. Because I talked to this guy that had joined the club, and he's like, man, it's a lot of clear cuts, a lot of pine thickets. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I knew that because I know the property, at least part of their property. And then I started looking at it, and listen, I love hunting pines. A lot of guys are like, man, I got to have hardwoods. Problem is, you ain't going to find many places in Alabama, public or private land, that's got a lot of hardwoods. Most of them are down your SMZs, your streamside management zones, all your ditches, drainages, creeks, stuff like that. But the pines, there's a big diversity of pines on the place. From like big mature pines that have been select cut, great understory, you can still navigate through, but it's good, really good cover, to dense pine thickets that are 6 years old, clear cuts growing up, to anything in between it. I really like that. It wasn't just like a monoculture of maybe 1 or 2 age groups of pines. And then there are some sections, lots of creeks on the property, really good habitat edges with the hardwoods to pines. Like I was driving around the whole time, I had Onyx on, I had my tracker on. So we're driving around for 3 hours. And I'm like, keep looking at spots, looking at property, looking at sections that we were going to. And the more and more I saw, the more and more I started drooling. Just how it lays out. And it's very similar to a lot of other stuff that we hunt. It's just the thing about on a hunting club, a lot of times your hunting club could have more pressure than public land does. But the thing about a hunting club is it's pretty easy in most circumstances, unless you have a lot of guys that really like to get in the woods and go find individual spots that are on food plots. It's very easy to determine where people are going to hunt and where the pressure's at, to find big sections that there's no pressure or very little pressure, other than guys maybe riding through it.
Yep.
And that's what got me excited, because how everything sets up, it sets up just like that. Like a lot of the food plots are, of course, right on road systems, easy to get to spots. There's a lot of spots in between them, which goes back to an episode we did with Kevin Tolis from, probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where we talked about how he kept getting kicked out of hunting clubs because he killed a lot of big deer on a place within 2 years. So like in a 14-year stretch, I think he was in like 7 different clubs, because he'd been in it for 2 years, and in the second year he'd get kicked out because he'd tag out and kill 3 big deer, the biggest deer they ever killed on the property. And he talked about that, like not hunting the food plots, but there's like these little focal spots in between the food plots, depending on how the property sets up, that gets no pressure or very little pressure, and that's where the deer like to hold up, and that's where the deer like to travel through, and that's where he'd focus the killing on killing deer. And this place sets up to that, to a T. To a T, bro. So good.
I love it when you get pumped up.
Also, a couple other things that like I haven't seen on clubs before, but we've talked to, I think it's Bronson Strickland about this at Mississippi State, with some of the clubs that he's managed and worked with. which is making certain food plots buck only, and majority of the food plots on this club are buck only food plots.
You can only shoot bucks.
You can
off
only
those food
shoot
plots.
bucks. You cannot shoot does on those food plots. There's only a couple you can shoot does on, which I was like, dude, you got me. Because I'm like, guys are still going to be hunting a whole bunch, but like that to me, that kind of works into a circumstance of like knowing, and they seem to do a pretty good job on their food plots, especially after the oaks drop. You start getting to rut time frame. These destination food plots, these does are going to go to, and cutting bucks off going to them, and cutting where the does are going to them as well. I think could work really well.
That's a really good point for anybody who's got a later rut, so December, January, and on. We've seen that on some of the public ground that we've hunted. Even those food plots, man. Once you start getting you start getting around Christmas.
Yeah.
Those food plots come alive.
Exactly. Like before that, it's like you kill deer coming out in food plots. Plenty of people do, but like once you have the oaks are done dropping acorns, it's pretty much all fed. Like they're all gone from getting fed.
Yeah. There might still be a couple here and there where they didn't all get eaten up, or there might still be a lone water oak dropping, but in mass, they're done.
Yeah, the food plots are a big draw to them, and it's like just knowing when the rut is, and knowing how they set up on a property sets up well. I feel like of knowing, hey, predetermined path of travel of where deer are going to go feed at on some of these bigger, especially the bigger food plots, where the good cover is, and where a buck can cut in between all that and scent check without having to go to a food plot.
Yeah.
Sets up so good, and that's one thing that got me real excited about looking at the property.
Yeah, because that was one thing I was talking to you about before we got started that I'm curious about, is that if they're not shooting bucks off of these food plots and the does feel more comfortable being in the food plots, not even necessarily catching a buck in a food plot. I mean, it'll definitely happen. They'll walk out in those food plots, but it kind of makes me wonder, in our area in central Alabama, during the rut, they're dogging these does a lot of times in the pine thickets. Like they're in there running the does out, and they might pop out and then go into a different thicket, and they're ping-ponging around.
Yeah.
Well, if the does are more comfortable coming out of that cover, then maybe those bucks will be, not in the pine thicket. Maybe they won't be in the food plot, but maybe they'll be 100 yards out in the woods, next to the food plot. And so that could potentially draw the bucks just out of those thickets and make them a little bit easier to hunt for you.
Oh yeah, no, I think so too. That was good to hear. I'm trying to think some other questions I asked.
Did you ask which sections they kill all the big bucks on?
I did not. Didn't need to.
Oh, they told you?
It was just it came up in conversation. But also one thing that got my attention, and I knew this because this area has produced really good deer. They kill big deer,
Yep.
like 145, 150 inch, 155 inch plus deer, which is not super common in especially central Alabama. There's areas that do it, but this area produces really good deer. But also, I really liked, and this is a big thing for me, because I've never been in a club, never been on a lease, nothing. I've always hunted public land or family property growing up. And not well, growing up was all family property, but since then, last 10, 12 years, it's all been public. Or hunting your club, or maybe once every 3, 4 years, go and hunt down at the farm. Is the drama. I was like asking the president, I was like, how do you handle disagreements?
Meet at the clubhouse and duke it out.
Listen, dude, I talked to him about it. I was like, listen, I'm serious. I'm like, I want to know how you handle stuff, because I'm like, I've always heard horror stories of guys in any kind of club having issues with other members. He's like, I take it very seriously. So if I had to kick out guys that were big trouble, causing a lot of trouble over the years, including one last year or two, had issues. Guys messing with other people's cameras, messing with other people's stands, complaining when someone else killed their deer. He's like, don't tolerate any of that stuff, which I'm like, great, because I'm like, you ain't gonna get no drama out of me. So just double checking. But that was really good to hear. Like how he runs the club, and he's run that club for over 25 years, which was good to know. Plus, he's very well connected in the area. There's a lot of different landowners and stuff like that, and he's like, we're looking to pick up another big chunk next year, which I'm like, it's exciting to hear. But that was big, because I was really looking at, like, I wanted to know, like, how do you handle certain stuff, because like the property is a bunch of different landowners, kind of all. It's not like one big timber company. It's a bunch of different landowners. I say bunch, it's like three different landowners. One of the landowners, which is Westervelt, you can't bait on. He's like, absolute can't bait. Westervelt doesn't allow bait. We can't bait there. The other portions you can bait. I'm like, well, I've never poured out corn in my entire life, so I ain't worried about the bait aspect. But I was like, how do you handle like guys just randomly putting feeders out? He's like, kind of let them do what they want to do. But last year they had a situation. Multiple guys were putting feeders right next to each other, caused some disagreements. How to get that taken care of? Which I'm like, that's crazy. I'm putting feeders literally right next to each other, and cameras and everything.
Oh my gosh.
But that's something else that kind of piques my interest because I'm like, if part of the club you can bait on, part of the club you can't bait on. Probably gonna have more attention where you can bait. It would be my thought process. Guys relying solely on cell cameras and bait. They're probably going to be on that section, the section you can bait more so than one you can't bait on, which is good to hear. But yeah, dude, just the habitat. They got turkeys. Killed a good amount of turkeys. They killed over $25 last year, or $25 last year. It's 8 point or better, and or 180 pounds. Is what they're looking for. So he's like, we're trying to kill 4.5-year-old deer or older on this place, and he's like, we've done a really good job doing that. But I'm like, 25 deer. You can kill a small 8-point deer for sure.
Right.
But he's like, we kill a lot of really good deer, which I'm like, that's good to hear too.
So the club has a no in-season scouting rule.
Yes. So this is weird.
That threw me for a curveball.
Yes, it threw me for a curveball too, and I had to ask about it, which worries me a little bit, but not so much because he told me some other guys kind of slip hunt a little bit, so it's not that I don't think it's that big of a deal, but. They don't want guys, when he says scouting, because I'm like, what do you mean by scouting? He's like, we don't want guys checking food plots. He's like, there are guys in the past that would literally ride roads and check every single food plot multiple days a week. And he's like, we just don't want the pressure.
Like checking fit, like riding up on them with a gun trying to shoot something, or like going and walking out into them?
Never specified. I didn't ask that much detail. But that's really what they're talking about, because most of the guys, every guy for the most part, sitting on either a big right-of-way, like a big power line or something, or they're sitting on a food plot. And the power lines have food plots on them. Right. So they just don't want guys checking those all the time in the season. So I'm like, okay. And he's like, especially running trail cameras, there's a lot of guys. He said one of the food plots last year had 5 different guys with 5 different trail cameras on that one food plot. The food plot's not big. And I'm like, that's crazy. And anyways, he made a statement talking about maybe at some point trying to get rid of, like, completely getting away with baiting, getting away with trail cameras. And I'm like, you won't hurt my feelings all that much. Like cameras, that'd be one thing, but like it's okay. We can hunt without cameras. Like I like hunting without cameras a good bit now, anyways. But like you'll have a hissy fit if you do that. He's like, yeah, but cuts out a lot of the drama. That's the way he looks at it. It's just like the drama aspect.
Yeah. I
Guys
get that.
pouring out corn next to somebody else, putting minnows out next to somebody else, putting cameras out next to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, that happened at my old club. There was one food plot that had 4 or 5 cameras on it at any given time.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, there's more stuff out there a deer uses than a food plot.
Yeah.
But it's just easy to get to. That's the thing. It's like food plots, you can take a 4-wheeler, you can take a truck. You take a truck a lot of places out there, at least when it's dry. A little worried when it's wet. And I'm like, I don't want to buy a 4-wheeler. I don't want a 4-wheeler. I don't want to hitch a 4-wheeler up. But getting an e-bike, I can strap to the back of the truck on a rack. That would be kind of convenient. But he said a lot of guys, they're hunting with 4-wheelers side by side. Some guys drive their trucks and stuff. And I was also asking him, like, how many of your guys are riding right up to their shooting house in a vehicle? Because they're hunting shooting houses a bunch. Got all kinds of shooting houses all over the place. Right up to a shooting house, or are they backing up and walking? He's like, it kind of depends on the person and the spot. Some guys do that. And I'm like, do you have any policy about like coming in and out? And he's like, you can't drive, you can't check in and hunt if you get there past 4 p.m. 4 p.m. is the cutoff.
Oh.
So they don't want people driving around after 4 p.m. out there during hunting season. Which I'm like, okay, that's kind of good. Yeah. Anyways, but the checkout, the pinout board is kind of interesting. I'm interested. They're getting a new map built for it. And like you kind of pin out exactly kind of where you're going and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of plexiglass. So they have like holes cut out in the plexiglass for food plots. So you just pin out right there in that little hole in the plexiglass on the food plot. And if you're not hitting a food plot, you just, with a Expo marker, not a Sharpie, an Expo marker, you write on the plexiglass like your initials and like you put like a magnetic pin or something right there. And then when you come back, you wipe it off.
Interesting.
Yeah. But like on the checkout, it's not like your club. On the checkout book or the sign-in book, it's just name and the color of your pin. It's not where you're going.
Right.
or anything because it's all on the board. But yeah, so
So now, so you're joining this club kind of late August time frame. Bow season opens October 15th. You're not really supposed to scout, sounds like. I don't know. Might be some ways around that. You know.
yeah.
So what are you going to do, if anything, over the next couple weeks? Because that threw me for a curveball because you're such an in-season scouter
Very much so.
that, I mean, you hardly do anything preseason.
That's very true. So
So are you doing anything between now and then?
yes, I just want to go sit late, like get a feel for the lay of the land. I can still find scrapes and stuff right now, especially like some of the bigger community scrapes like we talked about in the first question on this episode. Look for that. Look for access. Find evidence of where everybody stands right and mark those stands so I know kind of where people potentially are going to be at, and then find everything else outside of there. There's a bunch of spots I already have. Like I want to dive in really bad and check some spots out. But it's really like trying to get a lay of the land, how everything sets up, what the habitat's like, what's it probably going to be like later in season, of course, like during the rut, like what's going to like leaves are going to fall off when it comes to like sap, like cover that's good now won't probably be cover great in December,
Right.
in January.
Right.
So it's like trying to find like what's going to be good cover late season and sign kind of associated around with it now, like looking for old rubs and stuff. That's fine. Scrapes.
So how are you scouting the good cover for when the leaf drop happens again?
Not looking for sapling thickets.
Okay.
Stay away from, I mean, know where some sapling thickets are at, but if it's a bunch of sweet gum, it's going to fall off and it's going to be probably fairly wide open. Look through it. Looking for like your spots with a bunch of honeysuckle and a bunch of briars, specifically blackberries. Seems like there's a lot of blackberries. And there's some kudzu patches on the property, all that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
Some of that stuff's going to be great now until October. By late October and getting into November, a lot of stuff's going to kind of not be good cover. It's going to die off, so the deer are going to shift. So I was trying to find like what are deer going to use now up until in bow season versus when gun season opens up and kind of where deer are going to be kind of sucked into. And looking for big terrain funnels. It's big rolling hill country. It's not flat. Some of it's a little bit flatter than others, but most of it's rolling hills. And try to find terrain funnels that set up really good that are in the timber, not so much in the openings where more of the guys are going to be sitting, and just pin all that and like have a good idea of how it lays out, and look at it from that standpoint. I'd love to find where, especially on the section of the club that you can bait on, where guys are already baiting, which I probably could guess it's going to be easier to access. Like guys are going to go where they take a four-wheeler and everything.
Yeah.
Have all that marked so I know where that stuff is, and I can find stuff adjacent further away that's better terrain, better cover, better habitat, and habitat edges that I can look at.
Yeah, great point about what you were just talking about is it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the food plots, where you get to a certain time of year down in the deep south where the rut hadn't happened yet, but everything's kind of dead. It is winter. It's not fall anymore. It's actually winter. And all that cover's died back. That the further you get into the season, the more, it's almost like the more concentrated the deer become, because a lot of those, what once was a thicket, all the leaves fall off and they just quit using it. And then they got to keep going and finding better and better thickets. And you're bringing up honeysuckle, greenbrier, blackberry, like viney plants, real brushy plants that even if there's not leaves on it, it's still going to obstruct vision a lot where you can't see through it really well. So you're saying go find those now so you can just shift right there with them. You don't have to go walk out there and find it when the season comes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like in-season scouting, you just pin in a spot that you're going to take a certain path to get into it. That's the way I think you can kind of get around. Because, I mean, as long as you're hunting around on a roadbed, which there's some road beds. One thing, we were driving around the property, and it had just rained, maybe the day before, 2 days before. There were so many big buck tracks crossing roads on the club. I'm talking, dude, I just rolled the window down. I was looking out. I'm just like trying to stay calm and look. I mean, just some freaking Magnum tracks, dude, crossing roads and walking down roads. And I was like, all right.
All right.
Note taken. Got that picked out. But yeah, I mean, it's just, the problem, it's such a big property, and the property, how it's broken up, there's like two big sections right next to each other, and there's another big section further down the road, and there's another section in the adjacent county. It's kind of like close to the county line. We didn't even get a chance. In 3 hours we drove around, we didn't even get to see the far section of the property. We spent 3 hours on the three big sections all next to each other. So the other fourth big section by itself. But it's so much ground it's not like trying to do it all at once. It's finding certain areas you can really kind of learn and walk out in a good ways to figure out, again, habitat edges, train funnels, scrapes, old rub lines, good bedding cover for early season, good bedding cover for late season during the rut. That's like those 4 or 5 things. Yeah, mark and feed trees, of course, especially now getting in the club, you can see acorns real easy. Not checking that out, but it's just trying to figure out lay of the land and where the pressure is going to be and how you can hunt using the pressure to your advantage in some of those spots. That's really what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Man, that sounds awesome. Yeah, and when we scouted the other day too, by the way, new area, this wasn't on my club, this is on some public that we hunt. Every oak, dude. Every oak that we looked at. Red oaks, white oaks, mountain oaks, doesn't matter. All of them were loaded. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Side note real quick. Just got back from Gatlinburg. Me and Emmy went up there for a little vacation for a couple days. Went to Caves Cove, okay? Last morning, woke up real early. It was like, I say real early. It's early when you're going from Central to Eastern time. It was like 5 a.m. Left at 5:30 because we had about an hour drive to get to Caves Cove, which is 4 a.m. our time. Anyways, but rode out there, and she'd never seen a bear before. Black bear. Terrified of black bears. For some reason, just terrified of them. And we went out there, dude. We saw a bear. I'm talking about wasn't 5 minutes. We were parked waiting for them to open the gate at daylight at sunrise. And we were probably like the 15th car vehicle in line. Dude, we didn't go 10 minutes to the place, and there's a black bear. Comes down the side of the road, runs up in a hickory tree, and starts, just destroying this hickory tree.
You didn't film that?
I got tons of footage on my phone.
Sick, okay.
Oh, I got sick footage, dude. Every bear we found, we got footage of. It's awesome. But he's up there just stripping limbs, dude, grabbing hickory nuts, cracking hickory nuts, like a big squirrel, dude. It was awesome. Then we went through, dude. We ended up coming around. We saw another bear in another field come out and just walked down the edge of the field, filmed it. It was a pretty good bear. And we get to this third spot we drove around, and I just looked to the left, and all these cars are slowing down. That's like the key telltale sign. Like if you're not one of the first cars in line, people start slowing down. There's something there. We came by one of the little churches in the place, and there's a little cemetery right next to it on the back side of it. We pull up, and I see all these people slow down, and people are hopping out. We'd already seen a bunch of deer at this point. I hadn't seen any good bucks. And I look over there. There's a hammer of people like, walking right behind the church, right through the cemetery, just feeding. Hammer. Giant, dude. And like guys are like hopping out of the trucks. You can cut these guys hop out of the truck. You can tell they're hunters. They get their binos and everything, and they're like running up there. I'm like, you don't need binos. He's right there, dude. They're like running up to like try to take photos of the deer. Huge deer. But we get to this other section, pull around, and we're coming past some pasture, getting back in the woods. Everybody's slowing down. We slow down, and I look over. I see a doe right off the side of the road. I look behind her, and there's these 2 good bucks. Like one of them's one of them was probably, I don't know, in velvet, he's probably 140-inch deer. Sheds velvet, big 8-point. And there's another really nice 8-point right there. I got better video than nice 8-point. Still a big deer. But we're filming them, and they're not looking at the trucks. They're like looking down into like this big open like hickory oak flat, and they're like looking down. And I'm like, what are they looking at? I'm like filming the bucks. All of a sudden, the bucks, the second bigger buck, he takes off and he runs right by the truck, and I film him. Stop the video, I turn, look back, and there's a black bear walking right up through him. And there's like a doe standing there, and this good bear. Not like giant bear, but good bear. He starts walking up, dude, jet black face and everything, starts walking up right through these does, and the doe's like looking up, stomping at the bear. Doe takes off, all the deer scatter, and the bear comes walking right up towards us. Emmy starts freaking out. She's like, hey, she's like, roll the window up, let's move.
Roll them up.
And I'm like, hey, it's 35 yards from us. It's good. But, and like, anyway, yeah, it was entertaining. But we ended up seeing one more bear later on, the 4th bear, and some other deer. But I got to see 3 really good deer, really good bucks. I was like, man.
Hey, get you primed up.
Dude, if they had a little permit hunt out there, dude, I'm telling you. They can have my Iowa tag, any other tags. I just want to hunt Caves Cove. I'm telling you. Dude. And
That sounds fun.
I was telling her while we're driving around, like, these deer are so used to people driving, walking, talking. They're not real sketched. And I'm like, this is not normal. Like, it's not normal. Like, you go anywhere else where they don't see this all the time, they don't act like that. It's fun. We get out of the park and we're driving through the national park, or get out of the Caves Cove, Cades Cove, and we're driving through the park. There's a doe on the side of the road, and I see this SUV in front of us, start to slow down, take photos of it. Dude, they couldn't even come to a stop, and that doe was out of there, bro. She's like, I ain't playing. I'm like, that ain't no Cades Cove deer, bro. They're different over there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they're almost pet deer. So, I mean, you're driving by like a little intersection, you got to take a left at, and there's 3 does standing there. I mean, you could reach out the truck, and with a 6-foot pole, you could poke them, and they're just like sitting there chewing their cud, looking
What's
at
up,
you.
guys? You want to take some pictures?
Yeah, whack. Telling you, man.
Dude. All right. Well, let's talk about the Mobile Hunters Expo.
Oh, dude, it was great. Great. Oh, my God, it was so good. Grew by like 124%, I think Chris said. I mean, it was crazy. Saturday, because it was twice the size of it was last year. More
Yeah.
companies, bigger booths, all that stuff. It was like, for 3-4 hours, was like shoulder to shoulder packed.
It was twice the size attendance that it was last year, too.
Oh, that's what I meant earlier. Yeah, it's like twice.
Well, also the vendors. They
Yeah.
they doubled the size of the building.
double size of the building and more than doubled it.
Glad they
personnel.
did, because it would have been tight.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. It was so crazy. It was so fun talking to so many people, all kinds of backgrounds. Some guys are like again in their 30s, 40s, just getting deer hunting. Guys been doing it forever. Guys been doing hunting for 50 years. Guys been hunting for 2 years. Everybody intermix, showing listener success story. Guys killing hammers.
Yep.
That they learned from the podcast. Annual patterns was huge. Episode we did with Daniel Williams. Episode. Crap.
Oh, that's a good question.
Correct. I don't know that episode. Anyways, Daniel Williams from last May talking annual patterns. That was a huge commonality with all the trade shows we went to. Guys like, dude,
Yeah.
that worked. And but yeah, I mean, dude, it was awesome. I mean, just
Bobby Worthington did his talk up
dude,
there.
we hang out with Bobby for a little bit. He came by. Emmy said he talked to the girls and talked about how cute Piper was and
Oh, really?
a big buck killer someday. But yeah, Bobby Worthington, we were sitting, our booth's right in front of the seminars, which is great. At first I was a little worried, but then I was like, I've really enjoyed it because we get it kind of, couldn't hear them because we're always talking to people, but like could kind of see the presentations.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, Bobby's was great. I didn't get to hear a whole bunch of it, but I got to like see some of it.
It'll be on the Mobile Hunter podcast, so they recorded all of them.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they recorded it, because I didn't get to hear.
Yeah, all
Any
the
of
all the
Bobby's
seminars were recorded, but Bobby did a great one. But the one, just from a visual standpoint, and I got to hear it a little bit better, was Bronson Strickland from Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah, dude, he did.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was a phenomenal presentation. Props to Bronson.
Yes.
Okay, because it was funny because we talked to him Friday night, and he's like, "Yeah, I got to go to a hotel and put my presentation together." Dude, he knocked it out of the park, bro, with the presentation.
It was great.
His seminar was.
He was like showing GPS tracks of bucks and how they were navigating around food plots.
Oh, it was sick.
So interesting.
It was sick. So
Check out the Mobile Hunter podcast for those.
Yeah. Then BHA guys did their presentation, and then it was just us. Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
On Sunday. That was great, too.
Yep. Ours is already up on their feed.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we were talking about the commonalities that we've seen over 700 episodes now, all these different guys that we've interviewed. What are the common factors between a lot of them,
Well, some of the highest quality guests, specifically with bow hunters, what's the common factors? And it was really interesting because we broke that down in good detail, and then also kind of took away some most impactful things that we've learned on the podcast that's not only impacted the way we hunt,
Yeah.
but also impacted a lot of listeners, where we got a lot of listener success stories, which the whole part of the presentation was all about grunting.
Yeah.
You got to say, which was pretty cool. I think a lot of people enjoyed that. And then they were sad to hear that we had already sold out of all the grunt calls we had brought for the show. And
We got more on the way right now.
Yeah.
Right now, I got more on the way. So y'all be watching out. Beautiful.
the cool thing about this call, listen, this real so no, I did this for everybody. Get a grunt call that you can call super soft on. It doesn't take a lot of airflow. And I was demonstrating this, showing people at the expo. I had one guy, by the way, I had one call I was blowing all weekend. It was around my neck, and we weren't going to sell it because I've been spitting it the whole week. And on Saturday, dude, he came by. It was like Saturday afternoon. Like, we already sold out Saturday. It was gone. They're gone. A whole box of them gone. And he's like, man, I want a grunt call. I'm like, well, this is the last one I got. It's on my neck. And he's like, well, you want to sell it? And I'm like, I've been blowing it the whole weekend. Like, if you want it, sure. He's like, I'm taking it. I'm like, he's like, last year y'all sold out of them in like 4 or 5 days. I didn't get one. I missed it. And he's like, I'm not leaving here without one. Even though y'all are gonna put some on the website, I don't want to risk it. I want it. And I'm like, here you go, bro. Took it off my neck and gave it to him. And he was thrilled. But anyways, like super soft grunt like this is pretty interesting. I'm like, I was showing this to people in the audience. Is how little air pressure. Like I'm gonna have my head probably 4 inches from it maybe, and it'll blow the reed and it'll break over. And like that's critical, dude. Having a call you can call doesn't take much airflow at all. Doesn't stick. You can just barely break it over and call where.
Yep.
Super soft or loud, everything else. And then we found out you can dough bleed on it and make a really good dough bleed.
Yeah, actually.
Because, dude, when the guys come through, when the vendors from Latitude, he came through and bought one. He's like, man, I wonder if you can dough bleed. I'm like, I've never tried, dude. He adjusted. I'll do it real quick. He adjusted it. And I'm like, that sounds good, bro. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll kill a deer with a dough bleed like that. And we just actually had a question from somebody recently asking about dough bleeds.
I think that might have been at the seminar.
Oh, it was at the seminar. It was on the seminar. You'll hear that in the Mobile Hunters Expo, but let's see if I adjusted it correctly. Nope, I did not adjust it correctly. Too high. Here we go.
So you're just adjusting the O-ring out to the end of the reel.
Yeah, and that's what the guys that bought the car were like, I didn't know you could adjust it. I'm like, yeah, you can take it apart, pull it apart, and adjust the O-ring for the picture you want.
Beautiful.
I need to actually go through with a Sharpie and mark it on here where the O-ring comes up to, but yeah, dough bleed on it. Anyways, it was so fun. It was
Yeah, Bobby was selling his books. I actually bought a copy of his book Final Quest when it came out, and I don't think I got it until like December last year. So I was like, I'm not going to read it until next season. So I just cracked it open and started reading it last week. Dude, it is good. It is.
Where's my copy, by the way?
Oh, it's at my house.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, are you going to read it?
Yeah, if you give it to me.
I don't believe you. When was the last time you read a book?
It was another Bobby Worthington book. Actually, speak about it. Crap, Greg, I was supposed to give that back to you. It's his Hunting Trophy Whitetails. It was like the second book he came out with. I think that's what it's called. Sorry, Bobby, if I botched that. But anyways, Greg sent me a copy of it and read that. It was good.
Yeah, so yeah, man, it's been a really good read so far. It's getting me primed up, getting
Yep.
excited, getting real excited. But yeah, man, that was a great show. The Mobile Hunter Expo in Ohio is this weekend.
If you missed it,
Yeah. If you missed it, this is your last chance, actually. It's your last chance. I was saying that there was a bunch of new stands, saddles, sticks, platforms, and all kinds of other stuff that was there. That's going to be at that Ohio show. It's in, what's the name of that town? Shoot. I can't remember the name of the town now. It's somewhere in Ohio.
I knew that.
Wilmington. It's in Wilmington, Ohio. That's it. So y'all can go to that this weekend. It's the 22nd through the 24th. Check it out, mobilehuntersexpo.com. They got a whole speaker schedule at that one. Bobby's actually going to be speaking at that one as well.
Yeah, they actually talked him into it because it did so good at the Southern show. Like, you got to come to the Northern show. Yeah, Wilmington, Ohio, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, August 22nd to the 24th. Again, if you miss the Southern show, don't miss the Ohio show, okay?
Yes.
Especially if you're somewhere within 3, 4, 5 hours, it's worth the drive. There was a guy that came down from South Dakota to the Southern show. So, like, bro, they were about to be in Ohio, which would have saved you a little bit of driving. Guys coming from Texas, South Florida,
Yep.
all over the place. I mean, guys are driving 8, 9, 10 hours or more to get to that show, and it was worth it. Everybody I talked to, like, it was worth the drive. So if you haven't gone, if you can make the Ohio show, do it. I promise you, you'll enjoy it. Meet some really good hunters, see some cool products, try before you buy. It's a great time.
Yeah, definitely. We're not going to be at the Ohio show, by the way, just so
Yeah.
we've been traveling too much. We need some off time.
Yeah, we're gonna relax a little bit. Which,
relax
that's like, dude, the guys at like the Geo and Outdoor Blast Expo, they were like, man, you excited for deer season? I'm like, dude, I haven't even thought about it because of all the stuff we were.
Yeah, see, now we're kind of done with the bulk of our, like, heavy travel, at least.
Yeah, because we've been recording, like, you mentioned this on the end of Monday's episode with Richard, but we've got majority of the episodes done for 2025.
Yeah,
Like, interviews. Like,
yeah,
there's a handful more that we need, but majority of them are done, and we've been traveling like banshees the last 45 days interviewing people.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Like that last swing, we were gone for like 11 days.
Yeah.
And we're just doing a road trip, doing a loop, because that's the most efficient way for us to get everybody in person,
Yeah.
which is what we're trying to do now. I think the last remote episode we did was last November, was the last one we did. So we're trying to keep that the last one that we ever do. And we're trying to do them all
I'm not
in
doing
person
I'm
now.
not doing another remote episode.
Actually, with this new equipment, I don't even know how to do remote stuff. So
No,
it's over.
Yeah,
we jumped off the cliff,
In
son.
person only, man. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but there's so many good interviews. Like, because you told me about what's coming out Monday, which you moved some episodes.
Oh, Monday.
Well, I tell y'all right now, Monday may be one of my favorite interviews of all time. I have
Yeah.
720 episodes.
Yeah,
Maybe my favorite,
I agree.
favorite one.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how it's taken us so long to get that guy on the podcast.
It's so good.
But y'all will see on Monday. And like I mentioned at the end of this Monday's episode, we got another episode with Richard Fott that's going to be coming out a little bit closer to the rut. It's a pretty rut-heavy episode, talking about calling and stuff. So y'all be looking out for that one. But yeah, dude, we've been burning up the dang highways. Now we can actually go and scout. I've had so many people text me and they're like, hey, how's scouting been going? Like, you getting ready for season? I was saying the same thing. I'm like, dude, I ain't been out. Like Scott, when he joined the club, he's been asking me to go scouting with him, and I feel bad because I haven't been able to go yet. I'm like, dude, I've been gone. Like, I've either been gone or I'm like just getting home. I'm like, I need a couple days to like get my home in order and everything, and process all the stuff that we've been getting on these road trips. But now we're finally at the point where we can start, preparing. I'm excited. I was texting Zach the other day, Zach White. I was like, hey, I can start thinking about Iowa now. He's been texting me about Iowa. I'm like, dude, I ain't even looked at nothing.
No, it hasn't even come to mind. Trying to get everything done. But anyways, y'all will enjoy episodes throughout this whole fall. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube as well, because a lot of them, especially Monday's episode, depending on what part of Monday's episode is coming out, it's very visual based. The next couple episodes are going to be very visual based.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to want to watch them as well. You can listen to them going to work, but if you get a chance to watch them, I promise you it'll probably be more helpful for some of the conversations we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. One quick thing I wanted to bring up is last Thursday we were kind of actually we were still on the road.
Yeah.
Last Thursday. That's the episode we did with Jeff from Star City Whitetails. So we didn't do like a regular scheduled outro or Thursday episode, whatever we call it these days, on Thursday. But last Monday we had the episode with Dr. Dwayne Diefenbach from Penn State. He's been a guy that we've wanted to get on for quite a while now, because the Penn State deer forest study is kind of like the OG of GPS studies. I mean, that was the first place that I had seen anyone do a GPS study, and I mentioned that in the episode with him. So it's been a long time coming, getting to talk to him and kind of go over that project. And the other reason we wanted to talk to him specifically is because they did that study in an area with a lot of topography. Pretty much all the other GPS studies that we've looked at have been in more flatlands or rolling hills. They did it in a much more rough, mountainous, big wood setting. But one topic that generated quite a bit of discussion on that was, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I'm going to put you on the spot, was Dr. Diefenbach talking about how they would have a collar that they would need to drop off a deer for whatever reason. And to drop it, they would have to get within 200 yards of that deer. They got to press a button on their thing. They got to be close enough to make it send that signal. They can't do it from a computer in the lab or whatever. So they would have to get within 200 yards. He was saying that it would take them like a week to get within 200 yards of a deer to drop that collar. What are your thoughts on that?
I would want to know the background of the interns doing that, because there's a lot of people like, man, I could do that. And by all means, I think if you're a good woodsman,
Yeah.
and you know how to slip and use the wind and understand
Use the
sound you're
terrain.
making, terrain, I think you could do that. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious that if some of the interns that were doing that didn't have that kind of background, and that's one reason they struggled. They might have been talking or just walking loud, taking the easiest point of travel to that deer, which is going to make you be seen, heard, or smelled probably
Yeah.
a little bit easier. So we hear you guys. Everybody was like, man, I could do that for sure. I think a good woodsman, a good solid deer hunter could probably get within 200 yards of those deer and drop that collar. But when he said that, it was kind of interesting that they were struggling. But then you kind of think a little bit further. It's like, man, I think it really comes down to the person running that remote. And how serious they're taking it and how well their slipping skills, their woodsmanship skills, and everything is of trying to get in there.
That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it just got a ton of comments, and I kind of started to bring it up during the episode, but I didn't want to get like way off in the weeds with that or anything. I was like, we'll talk about it on Thursday. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because like when I was at Auburn at the School of Forestry, I was around a lot of the wildlife students, like the people who were going to go into like biology, the people who would have been doing those kinds of studies at Auburn, and not as many of them are hunters as you would think. A lot of them are not hunters, and yeah, so pretty much what you just said. A lot of those people, I don't know if they would necessarily have the know-how or the skill set to sneak up on a deer, even if you know where the deer is at. That was the whole thing. It's like they knew where the deer was at. They had the GPS location of where the deer was, and they just had to get within 200 yards of it, and they weren't able to. I have a feeling we know quite a few people who would be able to, but I just wanted to bring it up because it got a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. It got quite a few comments. I was like, yep.
Dude, I'm not going to lie, that'd be a fun game.
Dude, I would... Maybe we're wrong. If one of these researchers is listening and thinks we're wrong, I would love the opportunity to go, not shoot the deer or anything, but like, let's have a challenge where we could go try to sneak within 200 yards of a deer, known location. That'd be
No,
fun.
not even that. I think it'd be interesting, like you versus me, who can get the closest
Oh, dude.
for bumping the deer.
Dude. Me all day. All day. There's only one way to settle this, boy.
Yeah.
we gotta find a hookup with some GPS
we need
collars.
Dr. Ditchkoff or somebody at Auburn. Be like, hey,
Hey, you could do it with like a thermal drone.
what do you mean?
If you didn't have a GPS, you could do that. You could find someone with a thermal drone, go find you a deer
Oh
somewhere,
yeah, you could.
and have them watch it with the
But
drone.
it'd be nice to try it on the same deer. I'll let you go first. I'll let you spook them.
We'll have to go find a different
Put me
deer.
in, coach.
Put me in, coach. Oh yeah, I was gonna say this on the thermal drone thing. I want to give a shout out to the whitetail research dude. What's his name?
Derek.
Derek.
I don't know his last name though.
I watched one of his last videos he put out. He did a video about terrain features and about how these bucks that he's watching with this thermal drone are moving through these terrain features. Like, hey, this buck went from point A to point B. This is the saddles he used. This is how he went down these drainages. This is what he avoided. Fascinating. It was really, really good. Dude's putting out some really good stuff, so shout out to him. Whitetail Research on YouTube, I believe. And man, we got a bunch of messages about getting him on the show. He doesn't want to do a show right now. He doesn't want to do any podcasts. More power to him. That's fine. But when he wants to do a podcast, we'd love to get him on here. But yeah, he's putting out some super quality. He did another one on trail cameras, by the way. This is just because we brought up the scrape thing earlier in the podcast. We were talking about how, you might not be getting every deer on trail camera that walks through the area. He did a video on that too, and it was pretty fascinating. A lot of math in that one. It's a little bit complicated, but he broke it down.
It's like Bobby says, deer hunting.
It's mathematics.
Hunting trophy whitetail is a game of mathematics.
That's right. But yeah, he did a great video on trail cameras as well about how much they're not showing you. So it was really interesting. I'm not going to try to explain it, but if you're interested, I suggest going and watching it. So pretty good stuff.
Yeah. One last thing I was going to bring up, and you'll probably notice this with me and Andrew wearing some bottomlands last handful of weeks, is we are excited. We actually are now working with Mossy Oak. And super thrilled with that. Super thrilled for the opportunity to be able to work with those guys, like-minded Southern guys, and they've got a great group of people kind of behind the scenes that most people don't know of. It's kind of working for them that we're excited to be working with. So that's one reason you're seeing the Southern Outdoorsman Mossy Oak hats, and you're going to see some other Mossy Oak apparel, Southern Outdoorsman apparel coming out later on this year, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Super thrilled, super excited.
A lot more to come on that front.
Exactly. Interesting interviews coming up as well through those guys. So very excited about it, and excited at some of the feedback. Heard some stuff, especially with y'all seeing some of the hats and some of the shirts and everything. Kind of get some excitement behind it. So stay tuned for more coming from that avenue. But
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
been awesome.
Yeah, it's been good, man. So, man, we're just hurtling towards deer season. Hey, it's going to be dove season before we know it, too, by the way. Are you going dove hunting this year?
I don't know where. Kyle called me and said he can't get fields put in because work and tractor equipment issues and all kinds of stuff. Unless you want to take Mike's tractor out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would go, but yeah, I haven't thought about it or planned anything.
Are you going fishing that week? When are you going fishing?
Yeah, September 1st, I'll be going.
Oh, okay. Dove season's on the 6th.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be back on the 6th. I was going to try to go on another walk-on trip on the 6th, but they booked out.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, cool.
Yep, unfortunate.
All right, cool. Well, you got anything else before we wrap this baby up?
No, just again, if y'all want to go check out Southern Outdoorsman Bottomland patch hats, go over to the website. Again, they're out now, been out for a little bit now. Freezer Queen shirts, a lot of y'all were wearing the Freezer Queen shirt to the Mobile Hunter Expo. Love seeing those. If you want a Freezer Queen shirt, go check that out. And all of our other apparel at the southernoutdoorsman.com. But other than that, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. We'll catch you back here on the next episode from the Southern Outdoorsman. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.